not asking for your pity. I just need someone, anyone, to hear my side of it. The truth. My name is Chloe. I'm 29, and 3 months ago, my entire world was detonated in the most public, most humiliating way imaginable. And everyone, absolutely everyone, thinks they know what happened. They saw the pictures. They heard the whispers that turned into shouts. They think they know me. They don't. They don't know what it was like to spend 8 years with Liam. 8 years of my life. 8 years watching the man I loved dissolve into a stranger who just happened to sleep in my bed. It started so differently. Of course it did. I'm a floral designer. I own a small boutique shop downtown called Petale. My life is literally built around orchestrating perfect moments for other people. Weddings, anniversaries, declarations of love. I deal in beauty and romance. And for a long time, I thought I had that. I really did. Liam and I met in college. He was magnetic, ambitious, funny, with this way of looking at you, like you were the only person in the room. He works in finance, a portfolio manager. Always a world of numbers and risk and pressure that I never quite understood. But in the beginning, that pressure hadn't consumed him yet. He was the one who would drive us to the coast on a random Tuesday, just to watch the sunset. The one who would show up at my shop with coffee because he remembered I had a huge wedding order to fill. He'd sit on a stool while I worked, stripping thorns from roses, and he'd actually listen. He'd ask about the bride, about the color palette, about the drama with the mother-in-law. He was present. We built a life, a beautiful one. We bought a little craftsman house with a porch swing and a garden. I was slowly turning into an oasis. Our friends called us the gold standard. I guess I leaned into that. My social media was a highlight reel of our perfect life. That photo of us laughing while covered in paint from renovating the living room. The one of him surprising me with a puppy, a little golden retriever we named Gus. I posted it all because I was proud. I was happy. But happiness is a fragile thing. And somewhere in the last 2 years, Liam just checked out. Like a pilot switching to autopilot and then leaving the cockpit entirely. I don't know if it was a promotion at work or just the slow grind of life, but he started to vanish right in front of me. He'd come home later and later, his face etched with a permanent tension. The door would open. He'd drop his briefcase, loosen his tie. "Hey," he'd mutter, eyes already on his phone. Dinner became a silent affair. I'd try to talk, to tell him about my day. I had the most ridiculous client today. A bride who wants an entire arch made of black orchids. Can you imagine the cost? He'd just grunt. A fork scraping a plate was the loudest sound in the room. After dinner, it was the same routine. Couch. Laptop open. The blue glow of spreadsheets illuminating his face. I'd sit next to him, the silence stretching between us like a vast, empty desert. I'd try to put my hand on his leg, and he'd flinch, just for a second, like my touch was an interruption. One night, about a year before everything exploded, I couldn't take it anymore. I stood in front of the TV, blocking his view. "Liam, talk to me," he sighed, a deep, annoyed sound. "Chloe, I'm tired. It's been a long week. It's been a long year," I said, my voice trembling a little. "We don't talk. We don't touch. It's like living with a ghost. What's wrong? What happened to us?" He finally looked at me, but there was no warmth in his eyes, just irritation. "Nothing is wrong. I'm busy. I have a lot of pressure on me. You're being dramatic." Dramatic. I was trying to save us, and I was being dramatic. That word hung in the air between us. It became his shield. Anytime I tried to get close, anytime I brought up counseling, or a vacation, or even just a date night, I was being dramatic. He stopped planning things. He forgot my birthday last year. Not the whole day, but he forgot the dinner reservations he was supposed to make. We ended up eating pizza on the couch. In silence, I felt like a piece of furniture in the house we built together. Useful, expected to be there, but utterly ignored. And that's when his brother, Ethan, started coming around more. Ethan is 5 years younger than Liam. And God, it's a cliché, I know, but he was everything Liam used to be. He's a freelance photographer, so his life doesn't run on the rigid 9-to-5 schedule that cages his brother. He's spontaneous. He finds beauty in strange places. And when he talks to you, he actually looks at you. He actually hears the words you're saying. He'd come over for family dinners, or to watch a game with Liam, and the contrast was brutal. Liam would be on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling through market reports, shouting at the TV. Ethan would be in the kitchen with me. "That smells incredible, Chloe. What is it?" he'd ask, leaning against the counter. "Just a roast chicken. Nothing special." Are you kidding? You make everything special. Hey, how did that wedding with the black orchids turn out? Did the bride's mother faint at the bill? He remembered. He remembered a stupid offhand comment I'd made weeks ago. While Liam, my partner of 8 years, probably couldn't tell you what I did for a living if you held a gun to his head. It wasn't weird at first. It was just nice. It was a relief, having someone in the house who actually engaged with me, who saw me as a person and not just the woman who made dinner. I started looking forward to his visits, to the easy laughter, to the feeling of being seen. The conversations got longer. Liam would go to bed early, claiming exhaustion, and Ethan and I would sit on the porch swing, our voices low in the cool night air. We'd talk about everything. My dream of opening a second shop in the next town over. His plans to travel to Southeast Asia for a photography project. We talked about our families, about how different we were from our parents. One night, I told him something I hadn't even tried to tell Liam in years. My dad. He was a lot like Liam is now, I said, tracing the pattern on my wine glass. Physically there, but emotionally gone. Always at work. When he was home, he was just empty. I spent my whole childhood trying to get him to notice me, to be proud of me. I looked up, expecting him to look uncomfortable, but he didn't. His eyes were soft, full of an understanding that stunned me. "So when Liam tunes you out," he started, his voice gentle. "It feels the same," I finished, a lump forming in my throat. "It feels like I'm 12 years old again, showing my dad a drawing, and he just nods without even looking up from his newspaper." Ethan reached over and put his hand on my arm. Just for a second. It wasn't a romantic touch. It was a human one. A touch of connection. "You deserve better than that, Chloe," he said, his voice firm. "You deserve to be seen." Hearing someone say it out loud, it was like a dam breaking inside me. Liam knew all this about me. We'd talked about it years ago, but he'd never made the connection. Or if he had, he didn't care enough to change. Ethan not only understood, he validated me. The texting started a few weeks after that. Innocent stuff at first. A funny photo he took. A complaint about a client. But it grew. It became our private channel. A good morning text from Ethan would arrive while Liam was rushing out the door without a goodbye. A "how's your day?" text would pop up at lunch, while my calls to Liam went straight to voicemail. He remembered when I had big consultations and would text to ask how they went. He became my cheerleader, my confidant. The emotional connection I was building with him felt more real, more substantial, than anything I'd shared with Liam in years. People will judge me. I know they will. They'll call me a cheater. But how do you explain what it feels like to be so profoundly lonely while lying next to someone every night? To feel so invisible that you start to wonder if you're even real? Ethan made me feel real again. He made me feel interesting. He made me feel beautiful. And I started to crave that feeling more than I craved air. The day it all changed was a Tuesday. In April, the air was thick with the smell of rain and blooming jasmine. Liam had a huge quarterly review. He'd been a nightmare for weeks, stressed and short-tempered. He was in back-to-back meetings all day, he'd said. Wouldn't be home until late. He'd barely acknowledged me that morning. Just a grunt as he grabbed his coffee and a briefcase. The door clicked shut, and the silence he left behind was a physical thing. It was our 8-year anniversary that weekend. I'd taken the day off to start prepping for the party we were throwing. A big affair in our backyard. But the whole celebration felt like a lie. How can you celebrate 8 years when it feels like your relationship died at year 6? I was in the living room, trying to figure out how to move our ridiculously heavy oak bookshelf to make room for a seating area, when my phone buzzed. It was Ethan. "Liam mentioned you were rearranging for the party. Need a hand with the heavy lifting?" Of course, Liam had mentioned the work, but not the fact that he hadn't offered to help with any of it. Ethan's text felt like a life raft. "Oh my God, you're a lifesaver. Yes, please. I'll pay you in pizza and beer." On my way. He showed up 20 minutes later, not with pizza, but with takeout from my favorite Thai place. He remembered. Of course he did. "I figured you'd be too busy to eat," he said, smiling that easy smile of his. We ate on the floor, surrounded by furniture I'd already managed to push into the center of the room. We talked and laughed, and it felt so normal, so good. to have a partner. To have someone who genuinely wanted to be there, sharing a task, not treating it like a chore. After lunch, we started moving the bookshelf. It was awkward. We were in close quarters, our bodies brushing against each other. I could smell his cologne, something clean and spicy, like sandalwood and bergamot. Every time he'd lean in close to get a better grip, I'd find myself holding my breath. "Okay, on three," he'd say, his voice a low rumble right next to my ear. 1, 2, our hands would touch. His fingers were warm, strong. There was a current between us, a low hum of electricity that had been building for months. Today, it felt like it was about to arc. When we finally got the bookshelf into its new spot, we were both breathless and a little sweaty. We collapsed onto the couch, laughing. "See?" I said, nudging him with my shoulder. "We're a good team." He turned to look at me. The laughter died in his throat. "You're amazing, Chloe," he said, his voice suddenly serious. "You've put all this together. You make everything beautiful. Liam is so damn lucky." And then the world tilted. He reached over, so slowly, and tucked a piece of hair behind my ear that had escaped my messy bun. His fingers lingered on my cheek for a fraction of a second too long. The way he was looking at me, it was with an intensity I hadn't seen in years. It wasn't the irritated glance of Liam. It wasn't the vacant stare. He was looking at me like he saw me. All of me. The tired parts, the sad parts, the parts that were still trying so hard. And he wasn't looking away. No one had looked at me like that in forever. I should have moved. I should have laughed it off, broken the spell. I should have done 100 different things. But I didn't want to. For the first time in so long, I felt wanted. I felt seen. So when he leaned in, I didn't pull back. I met him halfway. The kiss was. It was like coming up for air after being underwater for too long. It was gentle at first, and then it was desperate. It was months of unspoken words, of shared glances, of quiet understanding, all crashing together. It felt like remembering a part of myself I thought was dead. He pulled back for a second, his forehead resting against mine. "Chloe," he whispered, like my name was a question. I didn't say anything. I just kissed him again. Because it felt like the only real thing that had happened to me in years. It felt like coming home to a place I'd never been before. The kiss turned into more. Of course it did. He was so attentive, so present. He kept asking if I was okay, telling me I was beautiful. It was a symphony of all the things I had been starving to hear, to feel. We ended up in my bedroom. In our bedroom, the one Liam and I had shared for 8 years. I know how that sounds. It sounds terrible, vile. But in that moment, tangled up in the sheets with Ethan, feeling cherished and desired and alive, the guilt was a distant whisper. The shouting in my head was the joy of finally being held by someone who wanted to be there. I was so lost in the moment, so consumed by the feeling of being wanted, that I didn't hear the car pull into the driveway. I didn't hear the front door open. I didn't hear the footsteps on the stairs. The bedroom door swung open, and everything stopped. Time, breath, my heart. Liam was standing there. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't crying. His face was a blank, cold mask. It was an expression I had never seen before. A complete and utter absence of emotion. Ethan and I scrambled apart, pulling at sheets, a pathetic, clumsy attempt to cover the uncovered. My mouth opened, but no words came out. What could I say? It's not what it looks like? It was exactly what it looked like. Liam just stood in the doorway. He slowly raised his phone. Click. The sound of the camera shutter was deafening in the silence. Click. Click. He moved slightly to the left, getting another angle, like a crime scene photographer documenting evidence. Cold, methodical, detached. My mind was screaming. Say something. Yell at me. Throw something. Do something. But he did nothing. He lowered his phone, his eyes flicking from my face to Ethan's. There was no pain there, no anger, just disgust. A flat, bottomless contempt. He turned, without a single word, and walked out. I heard his footsteps going down the stairs. The front door opened and closed with a soft click. The sound of his car engine starting, and then the crunch of tires on the gravel driveway as he pulled away. And then, silence. A silence so profound it felt like it was crushing me. The whole thing couldn't have lasted more than 30 seconds. It felt like a lifetime. Ethan finally broke. He was scrambling for his clothes, his hands shaking. "Oh my God. Oh my God, Chloe. He's going to kill me. He's going to destroy me. What do we do? What do we say? But I was frozen, stunned. Part of me had expected this, hadn't it? A confrontation. A messy, horrible end. But not this. Not this cold, calculated silence. It was more terrifying than any rage could have been. Maybe. Maybe this was the wake-up call he needed. The thought was insane. I know. But it flickered in my mind. Maybe seeing me with someone else would make him realize what he'd been taking for granted. Maybe he'd finally fight for me. The next 2 days were the strangest of my life. Liam came home that night. He walked in, put his keys in the bowl by the door, and looked at me. Hey, he said, his voice perfectly normal. What's for dinner? I just stared at him. I had rehearsed 1,000 speeches. Apologies, explanations, accusations. But standing there, in the face of his impossible calm, I couldn't say a word. I made lasagna. I stammered. He nodded. Great. I'm starving. We ate dinner together. He asked about my day. He talked about his meetings. He watched TV with me on the couch. He acted like it was just another Tuesday. A normal, boring Tuesday. It was psychological torture. I kept waiting for the explosion, for the other shoe to drop. But it never did. Ethan was texting me in a panic. Has he said anything? We need to talk to him. We need to explain. He's planning something, Chloe, I know it. But I told him to be quiet. To wait. He's acting normal, I texted back, trying to convince myself as much as him. Better than normal, actually. He's more present than he's been in months. Maybe. Maybe he's choosing to move past it. What a fool I was. He was being nice. He helped me finalize the catering for the anniversary party. He hung up the string lights in the backyard without a single complaint. He even complimented the floral arrangements I'd designed. It's going to be a great party, Chloe, he said, kissing the top of my head. A perfect way to celebrate 8 years. I started to believe it. I let myself hope. Hope that this awful, terrible mistake had somehow shocked our relationship back to life. That he had seen how close he was to losing me and had decided to step up. I was clinging to a fantasy. And he was letting me. He was building a stage. And I was too desperate to see that I was the main character in a tragedy he was directing. The morning of the party, Liam brought me coffee in bed. He hadn't done that in at least 4 years. Morning. Beautiful, he said, smiling. Happy anniversary. He told me he had a surprise for me. Something special he'd been working on for the party. Something to show everyone how much I meant to him. And my stupid, hopeful heart soared. He's back, I thought. The old Liam is back. I spent the day getting ready. I did my hair, my makeup. I wore a deep green dress that he used to love. I felt beautiful. I felt hopeful. Ethan came early to help with the final setup. He was a nervous wreck, his eyes darting toward Liam every few seconds. But Liam was the picture of charm. He joked with his brother. He put his arm around me, kissing my temple. My 2 favorite people, he said, smiling at us. Glad you could make it, Ethan. It was chilling, but I explained it away. He was trying. He was being the bigger person. The party was perfect. Guests started arriving at 6. Our backyard was transformed. Twinkling lights, beautiful flowers, the scent of my garden mingling with the smell of food from the caterers. All our friends, both our families, everyone who had watched our love story unfold over 8 years. Liam's mom hugged me, tears in her eyes. I'm so proud of the life you two have built, she whispered. My dad clapped Liam on the back. You take good care of my girl, he said. The irony was a bitter pill I couldn't swallow. Liam was the perfect host. He kept his arm around me all night. He refilled my wine glass. He told stories about our first date, making everyone laugh. He introduced me to one of his new colleagues as the love of my life. I was watching a performance, an Oscar-worthy performance, and I was his co-star, completely unaware of the script. After dinner, when the sky was a deep indigo and the party was in full swing, Liam tapped a glass with a fork. Everyone, can I have your attention for a moment? The chatter died down. Everyone turned to face him. He was standing by the large projector screen we'd set up to show a slideshow of photos. He had a huge, brilliant smile on his face. Thank you all for coming to celebrate 8 years with me and Chloe, he began. These past 8 years have been educational. I've learned so much about love, about commitment, and about partnership. He looked right at me, his eyes full of what I thought was love. Chloe has supported me, pushed me, and made me a better man. I wanted to put something together, a little trip down memory lane, to show all of you what our life together has meant to me. My heart swelled. This was it. This was his grand gesture. He clicked a button on his laptop. The screen lit up. It started beautifully. A picture of us on our first trip together, young and giddy. A photo from our college graduation. A picture of us bringing Gus home as a puppy. Holidays with family, candid moments, all the beautiful pieces of the life we'd built. People were smiling. I heard a few people say, "Aw." His mom was dabbing her eyes. I felt a tear slide down my own cheek. I was so proud, so relieved. We're going to be okay, I thought. The presentation was everything I'd been craving. A public acknowledgement of our love. Then, the pictures changed. The music stopped. The smiling photo of us on a beach in Mexico vanished, and was replaced by a photo of me, on our bed, with Ethan. The room went utterly, completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop on the grass. Another picture flashed on the screen. A different angle. Explicit, undeniable. And another. I watched my mother's face collapse in on itself. I saw Liam's father stare at Ethan, his expression turning to stone. I heard someone gasp. The whole world just stopped. I was frozen, my blood turning to ice. My green dress felt like a costume. My smile felt like a grotesque mask. Liam stood there, his face calm. He let the final, most damning photo hang on the screen for a full 10 seconds. Then, he turned to face the crowd. His smile was gone, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated hatred. He looked from me to Ethan, who was shaking so hard I thought he might fall over. Liam raised his glass. "So, let's hear it for the happy couple," he said, his voice dripping with venom. "My loving girlfriend and my devoted brother. Congratulations to the two pieces of trash who found each other." He looked directly at me. He held up his middle finger, and then he turned and walked away. He walked through the silent crowd, out the side gate, and disappeared into the night, leaving me standing there, in the wreckage, with those horrible pictures still frozen on the screen behind me for everyone to see. The silence that followed felt like an eternity. No one moved. No one spoke. They just stared. Some at the screen, some at me, some at Ethan. Their faces were a mixture of shock, disgust, and pity. I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. Then, people started to leave. Quietly, awkwardly. No one said goodbye. No one made eye contact. They just grabbed their coats, their purses, and they fled. Like I was the source of a contamination they couldn't get away from fast enough. Ethan tried to speak to his parents. His father just held up a hand. "Don't," was all he said, his voice like gravel. They turned and left without another glance at their son. My parents were the last to leave. My mom couldn't even look at me. My dad just stood in front of me, his face etched with a pain that was worse than any anger. "I'm just so disappointed, Chloe," he said. Disappointed. Not angry. Disappointed. That single word broke me more than anything else that night. I spent that night alone in the house, our house, crying until I thought my ribs would crack. Not just for the humiliation, but for the realization Liam had been planning this. From the moment he stood in that doorway with his phone, he had been planning this. The 2 days of kindness, the help with the party, the coffee in bed, it was all part of the act. He had let me build my hopes up. He had let me believe we could be saved. He had built me a beautiful stage, just so he could burn me at the stake in front of everyone we knew and loved. That's what broke me. The cruelty. The calculation. If he could put this much thought, this much meticulous effort into destroying me, why couldn't he have put a fraction of that energy into saving us? Into talking to me? Into fighting for the 8 years we had built? The answer was simple. Revenge was easier than forgiveness. Destruction was easier than reconstruction. The fallout was swift and absolute. Ethan stopped answering my calls. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that his family had completely cut him off. He moved to another state a month later and changed his number. The one person who understood my side of the story was gone. Warren moved his things out the next day while I was at my parents' house, too ashamed to go home. He left a stack of legal papers on the kitchen counter. On top was a note. "I will never forgive you for betraying me with my own brother." He made it sound like I'd targeted Ethan specifically to hurt him, like I was some master manipulator. He couldn't, or wouldn't, understand that I hadn't chosen Frank to hurt him. I had chosen Frank because he was there. He was present when Liam was a ghost. The divorce was quick. He had the pictures. I had no fight in me. He got the house. Our mutual friends, of course, took his side. I was a pariah. My business collapsed. Word travels fast. No one wants the cheating wedding florist to handle their special day. My reputation was ruined. Warren made sure of that. I had to sell my shop. At 29 years old, I had to move back into my childhood bedroom in my parents' house. My life, completely and utterly, erased. Meanwhile, I'd hear things about Liam. He got a promotion. He was traveling. He was going out with friends, looking happier and healthier than he had in years. People said he was like a new man now that he was free of me, like I was the anchor dragging him down. When really, I was the one drowning while he refused to throw me a rope. And that's the part that no one understands. They see the act, the cheating. They see the pictures and they cast their judgment. I'm the villain. He's the victim. I'm not saying what I did was right. It was a terrible, destructive mistake that hurt so many people. I will carry that guilt for the rest of my life. But relationships don't just explode out of nowhere. They decay. They rot from the inside out because of neglect. He emotionally abandoned me long before I ever touched his brother. He made me feel so small, so unwanted, so taken for granted, that when someone else came along and made me feel the opposite, of course I was drawn to it. Like a plant leaning toward the only sliver of light in a dark room. He created the vacancy. I just let someone else fill it. So now I'm here, starting over. Liam has his perfect life, and everyone thinks he's better off. Frank is gone. Our families are broken. And I've lost everything. All because my partner of 8 years couldn't be bothered to notice that the woman he claimed to love was dying right in front of him. And when he finally did notice, he chose to burn everything to the ground, instead of simply asking why I was cold. I will forgive myself, one day, for what I did. But I don't think I'll ever forgive him. Not for the affair, but for the party. For choosing such a spectacular revenge, instead of just being a man and facing our problems in private. He didn't just want to leave me. He wanted to destroy me. And he did.